Wepa, what's up, everybody? This is Eva Lee's Huntress Velez, and you're listening to another wrestling podcast.
It's time for another wrestling podcast with your hosts, Steve Credo and Jonathan Benjamin.
All right. It is another wrestling podcast, but not just any other wrestling podcast. It's another wrestling podcast, but Jonathan, are you out there?
I am.
Jonathan, this is episode 21. This is our Halloween show, baby. Our Halloween show. That's it. I mean, anything we could do to spook it up a bit, it's well worth it. I mean, it's Halloween, Jonathan. Are you excited as I am for episode 21?
I am absolutely excited. I think this is going to be the best show ever.
I'm going to hold you to that. But Jonathan, episode 21, our Halloween show, what could we possibly do? Who is going to join us? How could we make this any more of a Halloween show today?
Well, today's show is very special. We have somebody who, well, both people I'm just frightened of, but we'll be speaking to Awesome Kong and Ron Zombie.
Very cool. What Halloween show would it be without a zombie on here? And, well, Awesome Kong, Karma, whatever you want to call her, Kia Stevens will be in the house very shortly. Jonathan, though, each and every week, we do this for the fans out there, for the wrestling fans, for the marks, because they love wrestling as much as we love wrestling. Not together, but pro wrestling, because as Tommy Dreamer once said, it's not gay, it's pro wrestling. But guys, thanks for joining us, thanks for listening. All we ask for you out there to do is find us on iTunes, subscribe, rate us, give us a good review, because, hey, we love you out there, and why don't you give us some love back? Why not, right, Jonathan?
Yeah, I mean, we've said it before, and we'll say it again. The more love we get, the more subscriptions, the better we can do. We've already given you 20, today's 21, 20 awesome episodes, and the hits are just keep on coming. And if you keep letting us into your ears, then we'll keep bringing you the best wrestling around.
That's right. Well, we're not wrestling. We're going to be talking wrestling, but it's still the best around. The best in the world, maybe. I don't know. Maybe one day. But, guys, we're not telling you to subscribe to us for $9.99. This is free. You don't have to do anything. All you have to do is click a button. And while you're listening to the show, click another button. Say, hey, we love another wrestling podcast. We love AWP. So leave us a review, because we love you. I don't know how much else to say, Jonathan, but I got to reach out there. We got to reach out to the audience, tell them what's up. And also, speaking of reaching out, talk about a cheap plug right here, Jonathan, because do you know that another wrestling podcast has another wrestling t-shirt store on prowrestlingtees.com/another wrestling podcast?
Do I know? It's the only shirt that I wear. As a matter of fact, people have started to tell me that I need to change, but I'm doing it in protest. Until all of you go out there and buy a t-shirt, I will be wearing the same exact shirt.
Good thing we don't have to smell you, Jonathan. Hopefully you wash it. Hopefully you're using another wrestling laundry detergent. But guys, like I said, hey, check out the shirt. We have another wrestling t-shirt. We have, 2 shirts for right now. We're going to get more, but hey, if we sell these, we promise we'll get you a lot more. Hopefully before the Christmas season, right, Jonathan? I know this is Halloween, but hey, the Christmas trees are already starting to come out too, so.
It's right around the corner.
That's right, guys. But Jonathan, let's get right into it. This is Halloween, man. I want to get scared. I want to talk some spooky stories. I don't know. What can we do on our Halloween show?
Well, I can think of nothing better, since it is Halloween, than to talk about some scary moments in professional wrestling. Now, I'm not saying scary like David Arquette winning the World Championship Wrestling Heavyweight Championship. I'm not talking about scary as Papa Shango putting a curse on Ultimate Warrior scary. I'm talking about some real life scary moments in professional wrestling.
All right. Well, tell me what's on your mind with these scary moments? What can we delve into if we must?
I'm thinking I'm gonna start. There's several that have happened, but one of these is very very scary to me. And it was around SummerSlam 1997, and it was the Intercontinental Championship match. It was Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Owen Hart, and Owen Hart had picked up Stone Cold and gave him a pile driver on his head, basically. And it eventually, what happened, it broke his neck and sidelined Stone Cold for a long time. But that was one of the most real moments that I can remember actually, witnessing, watching. And, now that we get to watch all these shows on the network and, see interviews and listen to them both, or, Stone Cold talk about it, is just even more scary. But I think that that's definitely one of the scariest moments that I can think of.
Yeah, I remember watching it as a little Mark. That was, I mean, you're watching it, and as a kid, I got wrestling, and to the point where you know what you're watching. You know what I mean? Like, we know what's happening, and so when you see that moment where something's wrong, it kind of puts you back into that reality chair of, these guys are going to hurt themselves. You know what I mean? And to see him hurt like that was like, oh. It was so horrible because it was right at the pinnacle of him, like, becoming this big star in a way. And it was just like, he's right there. Then boom, this sidelines him. And just to see that happen, man, that was scary. Scary indeed. But I don't know what you guys think about that. As always, if you're listening to us out there and you hear us talk about something, please tweet us at a wrestling pod, a wrestling pod. Tweet us, Facebook us, go on anotherwrestlingpodcast.com, post some comments, let us know. But Jonathan, there's a lot more scary moments out there besides just Steve Austin nearly breaking his own neck. Let's talk about another scary moment. This is an older scary moment. One of my favorite wrestlers is Cactus Jack, if you didn't know that. Besides Bret Hart, one of my big guys is Cactus Jack. But Mick Foley, he his whole ear, pretty much. He lost his ear from Vader in 1994 during WCW's European tour. You can kind of see this video every now and then. I'm sure if you just go on YouTube, you can see it happen. But that's the real deal, man, Jonathan. You lose your ear, you lose your ear, man. There's no growing it back in 1994. What do you think?
No, they didn't have the technology to grow one on the back of like a mouse and, graft it back onto his head. But I remember seeing this actually. I don't know how I saw it at a younger age, but I do remember seeing it. And Cactus went to do one of his famous Cactus like clotheslines, and he got his head stuck in the ropes. The ropes were like really tight, and it was a big deal. He gets out of the conundrum he was in, and then I remember Vader just giving him like a punch right to the head, the side of the head, and you can just see this little thing, and you can almost hear it like hit the ground, and it's his ear. And through listening to his interviews and watching the Mick Foley DVD, he said literally that he picked it up and it looked like a piece of raw chicken, and somehow it got handed to the ref, and the ref said something in German and basically said, like, give this to Ric Flair, and it was his ear. And I guess they went and did, try to do some surgery and stuff, but the cosmetics weren't there, and so, today we see that he's missing most of his ear.
Poor Mick Foley. Horrible, but another scary moment in the world of professional wrestling, guys. And hey, who'd have known it led to a little bit of a better character down the road as Mankind, because now he could say that he's deformed and doesn't have an ear and all that. So one scary moment leads to another good moment, I guess. But Jonathan, you want to talk about a scary moment? Give me another scary moment. Come on. We got two in the books, baby. What else can we get?
Okay, I'm gonna set the scene for you.
Okay.
Two really good tag teams in the world of professional wrestling, the Hardy Boys and Eminem. Do you know where I'm going with this?
I know where you're going with this.
Okay. It was Armageddon 2006. And they had somewhat set up, the Hardys had been doing this for a while, where they set up a ladder in the corner, and it was kind of propped on another ladder. One of the Hardys would jump off, hit the front of the ladder, and it would pop the other part of the ladder up and hit the guys. And, so we all know that, professional wrestling may be staged in certain aspects. And all I know is that when I saw it hit Joey Mercury, I was in Hooters in Evansville, Indiana, watching this pay-per-view, and I thought, well, he's dead. There's no way that this guy is coming back from this.
Yeah, it was a brutal shot. Lo and behold, he's now a stooge in the year 2014, but wow, it's a bloody mess. Once again, since this is a podcast, we really can't give you the visual except for talk about it. But I mean, you guys got YouTube. It's 2014. We know how to use the internet, so go ahead, check it out. That was pretty scary. I know it's not like boo, gotcha, you're scared, but I mean, it's pretty gruesome, gruesome feat to watch. But Jonathan, one of my top ones, I guess, would have to be WrestleMania 19, Kurt Angle versus Brock Lesnar. The shooting star face press, almost pretty much, in 2003. This was crazy. This is your main event at a WrestleMania, and you have the biggest star right now, Brock Lesnar, going up against Kurt Angle. Every time I watch it, Jonathan, I can't. You know what I mean? Like, I can't watch it with a straight face. I actually squeam a little bit. I don't even know what that word means, but it sounds like a fit. But I mean, you know what I mean? You get like every time you watch it. It's brutal. I don't know. You guys know what I'm talking about. Have you seen it? What did you feel about this, Jonathan? I mean, does that make you go?
It does, because as I was also watching this live, not live there in Seattle, but live at home, and two of my favorite people that were wrestling at the time, Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar, and they were putting on a heck of a match. You got to see a great back and forth, and I guess the adrenaline just hit Lesnar, and he was saying, "Listen, I got to do something to top this off." And he shot a little wide, and he totally missed, landed on his face, pretty much broke his neck, and you could see through the interviews and all that stuff, they handed him the belt, and he just had glass eyes. There was nothing there, and it was scary. It was so scary. I thought, once again, this guy's probably dead.
And looking at him set up for this move, and I'm like, you watch him climb the ropes. As a referee, I'm saying to myself, maybe I should be like, Brock, you sure? I mean, you see him over there? I mean, he's pretty far away for this move. But once again, I mean, are you going to be the referee that tells Brock Lesnar you can't do this? So I don't know. It was pretty vicious. Pretty vicious indeed, Jonathan.
Yeah, I think that I'm probably not gonna be able to sleep tonight because I'm so scared. But the last one that I'm gonna talk about is probably the worst injury in professional sports that I've ever seen, and it was, I think 2001 was just a bad year. There was a lot of things that happened. Triple H tore his quad on Raw. There was just a lot of bad juju in 2001. But January 14th, 2001, a little pay-per-view for the WCW. It was called Sin. And Scott Steiner was going against Sid Vicious for the World Heavyweight Championship. And did you see this, or have you seen this?
Oh, I've seen it over and over and over. It's pretty gruesome. So
Sid Vicious is on the top rope. He goes to do what looks to be like a boot, like a big kick, and he lands on his leg, and then his leg does a little magic trick and turns into a piece of cooked spaghetti, and it is the most gruesome thing. I mean, the only way it could have been worse is if his leg was on the mat, hanging, like it had been dislocated from his body, because oh my god.
Yeah, there's been things that have happened in basketball recently. I remember last year some guy came down off a jump shot and fell down and his bone came out and whatever. This was wrestling, and he just, oh man, just when you see the leg go the other way that it's not supposed to go, or bend in a place that's not supposed to bend, that's pretty much your visual for scary right there, guys. Visuals indeed, Jonathan. We gave these guys a lot of visuals. These kids, these women out there listening, whoever's listening, let us know what you thought was one of the most scariest moments. We said just a few, just to get the ball rolling. It's Halloween, guys. Shoot us a message, tweet us, Facebook us, let us know. You can find all that stuff. Right, Jonathan? Where can we find it?
You can find it at Another Wrestling Podcast, AnotherWrestlingPodcast.com.
Yeah, that's right, Jonathan. 21 episodes, and he almost forgot the website, guys. It's okay. It happens to the best of us. But yes, guys, AnotherWrestlingPodcast.com. We have some incredible guests coming up, though, Jonathan. Well, let's get into these interviews, and let's talk to them here at Another Wrestling Podcast studio and see what's on their mind about Halloween. Just talking to them about wrestling. And, guys, happy Halloween.
Today on the show, we have none other than Ron Zombie, the hardcore icon. Ron, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you guys for having us. You know I love marks.
That's right. You've been wrestling now for quite some time. For some, we're getting listens from all over the world right now. So, for some of the people that are out there that don't know about Ron Zombie, how did you break into the business?
I was broken in by Killer Kowalski in Malden, Massachusetts. I want to say around 94, 95, somewhere around that time. I was living in New Haven, Connecticut, and driving to Boston 2 to 3 times a week while working a 50-hour-a-week job. So, there's one for youth. I couldn't do that today, but I broke it under Walter, and I wouldn't have had any other way.
All right, now, were you always Ron Zombie, or how did you come up with your character?
Actually, the Blue Meanie had part in it, and a local DJ in Connecticut, Kevin Afternoon guy, who was no longer with us. I would go to 104 outings, and he'd start, just breaking my stone and say, "Hey, look, it's Rob Zombie's brother, Ron." And I'm like, "Well, I kind of need a wrestling name. That's kind of cool." And I told Meanie about it. And he's like, "Of course you're Ron Zombie," and that was it. I've had to do a couple of matches under a different moniker when I was working for another promotion years ago that didn't want us wrestling anywhere else. I was showing off the Shogun of Harlem, and I was Nurse Zombie, which I wasn't too proud of for a short time with the outpatient.
We hear that you even had a conversation with Rob Zombie, who gave you permission to use his music. What did he think about you?
Again, going back to Radio 104, Kevin the Afternoon guy, they were sponsoring Jason Knight's Assault Championship Wrestling, and they had the Merry Mayhem tour was Ozzy and Rob Zombie, and they had a meet and greet with Zombie. They brought me in to meet Rob for the first time, and actually wasn't the first time. I was in the movie Airheads, the scene White Zombie is playing in, but that was years before my wrestling career. And he said, "Rob, we'd like to introduce you to Ron Zombie." And he said, "Ron Zombie?" And he kind of looked perplexed. And I said, "Yeah, Rob, I kind of borrowed your name. I wrestle. I hope you don't mind." And Rob's a mark. And Rob got really excited and started, who you wrestle for, how long you've been wrestling. So I cut the conversation back to where the starting point was. And I said, "Well, are you cool with this?" He's like, "Yeah, make as much money off as you can." I looked around the packed room. I said, "Well, there's witnesses. That's a verbal agreement." And took it from there. He was really cool about it and seemed to get a kick out of it. So every time we're in the area with Northeast Wrestling, I make sure to flyer Woodbury, Connecticut, so Rob sees the posters.
Oh, nice. You wrestle for Northeast Wrestling amongst other Northeastern companies. What are some of your highlights of your career so far, would you say?
There's so many, man. I've been doing this for so long. I got to say, winning the Northeast Wrestling title from Xavier was huge. There was probably about 1,400 people in the Bristol Central High School, and just listen to that place erupt when I won the title Kurt Adonis is all too proud to show me it constantly, and just hear that crowd erupt is breathtaking. And to be in the ring with some of my heroes, guys like Tommy Dreamer, Mick Foley, Balls Mahoney, Stevie Richards, Raven, guys like that, you know, to be able to share the ring with those guys, it's just phenomenal. You know, I've never worked for WWE, I've never worked for WCW, and I couldn't have had a better career.
Now, you just mentioned some ECW alumni. You have more, you know, for crying out loud, you call yourself the hardcore icon. Do you wish that you could have, you know, wrestled for ECW back in the heyday?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. You know, that's what actually what made me go over to actually pursue this was ECW and to an extent Mick Foley, because, you know, when I grew up watching WWE, you were 7'13" and 600 pounds of muscle, or you weren't a superstar. And then ECW kind of changed that, and Mick Foley, you know, wasn't your prototypical wrestler. You know, he wasn't the build of a wrestler, he wasn't the characteristics of a wrestler, and made a great career out of it. So, you know, seeing that really sparked a fire in me, and I said, you know, I'm going to pursue this. I'm going to see what I can do with it. So, of course, you know, I would definitely have loved to work for ECW. I was just about the fail-safe guy. Every promoter in Connecticut that would bring an ECW alumni in, I was the guy booked to wrestle them. So, you know, I think I would have been the proper fit there. Another time, another place.
All right, now speaking of the hardcore wrestling, speaking to the hardcore icon, you suffered a pretty bad injury not too long ago. You know, in the ring, did you have any doubts that maybe you probably wouldn't return to the ring after that? Initially,
absolutely. You know, for those who don't know, I tore my ACL, MCL, PCL, meniscus all in one shot during a match in Poughkeepsie, New York. Brian Anthony, Tommy Dreamer, a few others were doing a 6-man tables, ladders, and chairs match, and I came down off the apron in the ring on my right leg pretty awkwardly, and it just tore everything inside my knee. And at that point, I swore off wrestling. I was done. I said, I'm not doing this anymore. I had my last match, and it actually took me a while to find a doctor to do the surgery. The first surgeon I went to denied me because there was so much damage, and they had to find a surgeon that specialized in multi-ligament reconstruction, and they found a doctor named Michael Joyce, who was in Glastonbury, Connecticut. He was the team physician for UConn men's and women's. And it took me a month after my tear to actually get in to see him, because I was being bounced around so much. And when I saw him, he was pretty confident that he would get me back in a ring shape. And he did. So, you know, my doctor, believe it or not, when it talked to me to get back in the ring. And after thinking about it, I didn't want my last match being carried out. I wanted to go on my own, and I'm feeling great. And I don't see a last match in my foreseeable future.
Well, speaking of matches, this Saturday you're wrestling in Bethany, Connecticut for Northeast Wrestling. You and I'm going to say a longtime partner, Bull Dread, are taking on the Battle Brothers with Showtime Stevie Stamos. What kind of do you enjoy the tagging, or would you rather be doing singles, or do you just enjoy wrestling in general?
I enjoy wrestling in general. I am more of a fan of the singles match, but I'm also a team player. You need me to do a tag match, I'm going to do a tag match. You need me to do a 6-man match, I'm going to do a 6-man match. You need me to do a tables, ladders, and chairs match. I just love going out there. I love hearing the crowd chant Zombie. You know, we were just in Waterbury, Connecticut with the Hardy Boys last weekend, and, you know, 1,200 person gym, you know, everybody in the place chanting Zombie. It was goosebumps, you know. So as long as I'm out there and I'm having fun and I'm healthy, whatever they ask of me, I'm going to do. But I do enjoy singles better. I feel like it's be more of myself in a singles match. You know, it's easy tagging with Dredd, though. I was one of his trainers at Jason Knight's school. You know, I've known Dredd since the first time he stepped into a ring, so it's easy working with him. And he listens well. That's what I tell him to do.
Now, Zombie, who did you model your wrestling career or style after? Do you have any guys that you know, you throw back some moves to some of your favorites?
There's guys I definitely borrow from. Bruiser Brody, boot in the leg drop. Everybody thinks it was Hogan. Brody did it first. Cactus, every now and then I'll throw the Cactus Elbow out there. Funk, Kevin Sullivan, guys like that, just, those smash mouth, brawlers, I tip a nod to the hat to them. And those are guys that, make me want to do this and made me want to do this as a kid. So I always got to, just pay tribute up to them.
Now, Ron, throughout your whole career, I mean, you've wrestled top names, you've wrestled anybody and everybody. Is there any regrets, though, you might have ever had that, like, man, I really wish I either did this show or I wish I went to this? Or have you ever had any of those just still rattling around in your head?
Yeah, of course. Of course, you look back and say, oh, man, I wish I was on that, or I wish I did this. I wish I had a singles match with Sabu. I've only done a four-way elimination with him. I would love to have had a singles match with Sabu. Just never happened in the cards. It's there's always going to be regret, but
mm-hmm.
you live with it. There's things I wish I did. That maybe differently. But it's great. I've had a great run. I've had a career that most indie guys aren't going to have. I've got to be in there with some of my heroes. Like I said, Kevin Sullivan. I wrestled him for Big Time Wrestling. It's on. You can see it on the movie Part Subject to Change. I've wrestled Walter Mahoney, who I was an immense fan of. Raven. I practically had to pinch myself in the ring when I see Raven walking at me. It's Mick Foley. It's never been a secret that Mick's been a hero of mine, and he left a match with me and Dreamer tagging. I've known Dreamer. I'm just going to kind of sidestep this for a minute. As a fan, I would go to indie shows run by Tony Rumble, the late great Tony Rumble, in Wallingford, Connecticut, and he was bringing these young guys in, like Tommy Dreamer, like Chris Candido, like the Tasmaniac, well before ECW was ever around. This was like during the WCCW days, and I got to actually be friends with Dreamer. So the first time I wrestled him, it was funny. I was like, "Oh, you came full circle now. You could retire." But being around that, you can't have any regrets.
Now that you spoke about helping train Bull Dread, if there comes a time when you decide to hang up the boots, would that be something that you would be interested in? Is possibly helping train the future generations of wrestlers?
Oh, absolutely. I've got an open invitation to go down to a few of the local schools and help out whenever I have the free time. It's just having the free time
Absolutely.
to do it. And, I've got to help people like Velvet Sky along when she first broke in, Mercedes Martinez, who's the best woman wrestler that was never under contract, Bull Dread, Joseph Von Schmidt. And it's good to see that these guys have taken it, and girls, and brought it to the next level. So, of course, I would always want to help where I could help.
Now, Ron, do you still keep up with everything that's happening all over TV? Because now Wrestling Today, it's on like 3 or 4 times a week, 3 different stations. It's online everywhere. They have totally different shows. Anything you go to or anything social media, wrestling is everywhere. Now you grew up, in pro wrestling. As a kid watching it. Do you feel Wrestling Today? Is it the same, or do you think that it's kind of getting too entertainment-esque in a way? Do you think we're losing that wrestling aspect where now it's just we're trying to entertain people in a ring?
We're losing that wrestling aspect, but it's a vicious circle. In the 80s, WWE lost the wrestling aspect when they're going with just the hokey gimmicks, Duke the Dumpster Droese and the Blacktop Bully, and there's just everything was just a corny gimmick. So it's always full swing. I'm sure it's going to come back around again. I get why they're doing what they're doing now. I can't say I'm the biggest fan of what's going on now, but I still enjoy it. Because you get the Diamonds in the Rough, you get a Bray Wyatt, who is the biggest breath of fresh air in wrestling in the past 10 years.
Yeah.
You get guys like Jericho that still pop up and, could still entertain with the best of them. So I understand where they're going. I watch Raw every week. I haven't watched SmackDown in a while. honestly, and I hate to say it, I have a hard time watching TNA. I've got a lot of friends there, but it's just so unorganized. It's so hard to watch.
Now,
I watch when I can.
The biggest thing that's in the world of professional wrestling these days, and everyone talks about it, is the actual network, the WWE network. Are you a subscriber to that?
Oh yeah, I'm definitely a subscriber.
And so what are, like, the day that you got the network, what was the first thing that you wanted to watch?
Here I am as the mark. The first thing I searched was Mick Foley to see what they had for Cactus on there.
Okay.
And I wanted to pull my hair out of Mankind because I couldn't get a good signal, and it kept buffering and it kept freezing, and like everybody had.
Yes.
But then I went back and watched a couple old pay-per-views, and I was a really, really big fan of NWA, early WCW, the Horsemen, stuff like that. So go back, see stuff like, Flair and Kevin Sullivan and Arn Anderson, Barry Windham. That's the stuff I really enjoyed as a wrestling fan. Is just pure wrestling, not entertainment value wrestling, just excellent wrestling. I was just always drawn to guys like that. So that's something I definitely searched for on the network when I first got it. Then, really big fan when Legends House came out, because who doesn't love watching Roddy Piper act crazy?
Yes.
Now, Ron, too, speaking about today's wrestling, really quick, you mentioned Bray Wyatt. Are there any other favorites that you have going on today right now? Or, is Bray that one character that's kind of really standing out compared to the rest?
I think Damien Sandow is completely misused. I think he could be a major star. I like him a lot, and I don't think they're using him properly. Same with Dolph Ziggler. Dolph Ziggler should be the top guy, and I don't think they're using him properly. There's a ton of great talent, and I think a lot of it's misused. That's just my humble opinion. How many times and John Cena is great for business, and John Cena is a phenomenal human being for what he does for children, but how many times could you see him on top of a pay-per-view? Dean Ambrose is another one that, if not used properly, should be a monster.
Mm-hmm. And that almost goes back to my question too before. With wrestling today, is that a lot of these guys are great wrestlers, but at the same time, it's like they're making them, jump through hula hoops and do all this, entertainment, fun stuff. It's almost like, they did something in the back to piss somebody off, and now they're making him into like this little circus clown, like Damien Sandow. One year ago yesterday was the year that he cashed in his Money in the Bank to go against Cena, and now 1 year later, he's tag teaming with Miz, and he's not really quite, he didn't really break out from anything he was doing, and it's a shame, I think. And I don't know where I'm going with this, but I think I'm venting a little bit of frustration too with what you were saying, how these guys are misused.
That's understandable. Because as a fan, I want to see these guys succeed. I want to, a little biased with Sandow being a Kowalski guy, but he deserves it. He could talk, he could wrestle, he's got a good look, and they can't find anything better to do with him.
Yeah,
it boggles my mind.
Now, you were this year inducted in the 2014 class of the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame and Fan Fest. And it was established in 2008 and to honor select personalities in the Northeast New England area. So do you feel like that's got to be, for me, that's got to be one of the highlights of your careers?
That was definitely a huge honor, and what made it even better was I went in with the guys I broke in with, Curtis Slam Dog and the Mercenary, guys that are more than family to me. And we traveled the road together, we learned the ropes together, and to be put in alongside the two of them was, I'm speechless now talking about it. It was just such an honor. I'm humble. I'm not one for, put myself out there and say, oh, look at me. Except when I'm standing in the middle of the ring, obviously I want you to look at me.
Yes.
But to be bestowed that alongside my two brothers and to have Dylan Cage come up from North Carolina insisting that no one else was going to do it. He on his own dime came from North Carolina to induct me in. I couldn't have asked for anything more.
Lightning round.
Favorite horror movie?
Loaded question. I've got so many, but the first thing that came to the top of my head was Devil's Rejects.
All right.
Okay. Favorite band?
Metallica.
Barbed Wire.
And quick slate push. I do play a Metallica cover band, Alcoholica. Not the Canadian one. AlcoholicaTribute.com. Check us out.
Awesome. Barbed Wire or chair shots?
Barbed Wire. Because I can't do it that much anymore because Northeast Wrestling is family friendly.
Best show or movie about zombies?
Walking Dead.
Bull Dread.
Hard Worker.
Heavy metal or death metal?
Heavy metal. Not death metal fan.
Weapon of choice in a zombie apocalypse?
Barbed wire baseball bat.
Your favorite match of all time that you weren't involved in yourself?
Flair Funk I Quit.
And one opponent for Ron Zombie, if you had a match tomorrow, who would it be? Past or present?
Bruiser Brody. Bruiser Brody should still be alive.
Lightning round.
If you're listening to this interview and you're saying, I don't know enough about this guy, I want to know more, where can the fans find out more about Ron Zombie?
You can get my Facebook. Just search Ron Zombie. My real name will pop up, and you could get me under there. I've got a ton of things going on besides Northeast Wrestling. I perform in 3 bands, as I already plugged, Alcoholica, Nasty Disaster, heavy metal band, and Big Ed, a rock band. And I actually just did my first feature role in a horror movie called Pinwheel that should be coming out very shortly. I unfortunately got the role because Ox Baker was too ill to perform in it, and I took Ox's role, and about a week after we wrapped is when he passed.
So you said that you think it should be coming out soon. Is there a website for that?
We just wrapped filming. There's a Facebook page and there's an IMDb. Pinwheel is the name. We just wrapped, so I know they're in production now, and it should probably be out within the next few months.
All right. Well, that was definitely an awesome interview from none other than Ron Zombie. I don't know what kind of Halloween show we would have if we didn't have some sort of zombie ghost or ghoul on it. So
that's right, Jonathan. It's not Halloween without a zombie, pretty much.
Yeah, and definitely check him out in the Northeast here. He's all over the place. So do yourself a favor, check out the hardcore icon Ron Zombie. And now, without further ado, joining us in the AWP studios is you may call her Karma, you may call her Awesome Kong, we call her Kia, and we can't wait to talk to her. So joining us now, Kia Stevens.
All right, joining us tonight, we have the lovely Kia Stevens, formerly known as Awesome Kong, and Karma. Kia, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for having me. Thank you to all your listeners as well.
Yeah, well, let's get right into it. We hear that you have a new Kickstarter campaign called the Good Karma Tracker. Can you give us some more information on that?
Yes, the Good Karma Tracker is the working title right now, and basically it's a website, or it will be a website once we raise the funds, that will help you track your good deeds. So a lot of people that do a good deed and ask someone to pay it forward, they usually wonder if that's ever been done. With this, you get to see if indeed they paid it forward with a token, with a serial number that you give to them at the time that you ask them to pay it forward. They would then go into the site and then enter, what you did for them and then what they did for someone else.
Oh, wow.
We have a lot of great rewards on the Kickstarter campaign website, and all your listeners can go to my Twitter page at Karma, at KHARMA, and click on the link and check it out.
All right.
All right. Now, we've seen some photos of you recently, and I have to say you look better than ever. What have you been doing to keep yourself in shape?
Well, that was a few months ago. I actually got a little holiday weight before the holidays going on right now due to a back injury that has flared up and is prevented me from working out as stringent as I'd like. But before the picture that you're referring to, I was hitting up the DDP yoga every day.
Wow.
And I was maintaining an extremely balanced diet, and it really helped me and just melted pounds away really fast.
Wow, Jonathan, we really got to hit up this DDP yoga, man. It works for everybody, and I don't know, we got to get onto that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now Kia,
you do. It's really awesome because you don't leave your house. You just pop in the DVD and work it out.
Awesome. Now we understand you growing up in California. Were you always a fan of pro wrestling growing up as a young Karma, as we could say?
Well, my brother was a wrestling fan first in the house. While I played with my Barbie dolls, he watched wrestling and played with his, action figures. And it wasn't until he would torture me every Saturday that I began watching wrestling myself. And the next time he came at me doing the moves that the PSA says that you should not try at home, kids. And I flipped it on him and turned a camel clutch into a Boston crab. And from then on, we would just watch wrestling together in mutual respect, and I loved it. And then after the wrestling, the cartoon came on. So Saturday was really special for wrestling in my house.
So I think it's safe to say, too, that he probably doesn't want to fight you today, right?
Probably not.
Right.
Probably not.
Now, who would you say the woman that had the most impact on you in pro wrestling is? Now, it could be somebody that, from the old days, somebody now. Who do you think would be the most influential woman for you?
Well, personally, Mai Kawakumiko was the most influential, is the most influential woman for me, because we worked so close together. And when I went to Japan, she took me under her wing, and she made sure I was okay. And any questions or anything that I needed, or if I was having a hard time, or if I missed home, she either, put a boot in my ass or wiped the tears away. So, she was there to just really mold my, character and my growing up in wrestling. So for her, I modeled what I do in wrestling after her.
All right. Now, we said woman, so who would you say the man is that had the most impact on you in pro wrestling?
Oh, well, that's a trifecta.
Okay.
Mick Foley, The Rock, and Stone Cold Steve Austin are the three.
Those are definitely three major ones, I would say.
Yes, those are the ones that really made me go, okay, I'm jumping in this. I'm jumping in.
All right. Now, you trained in Japan, we know. You achieved tons of success, both as a singles competitor and as part of a tag team. Which did you like better?
I love the tag team. I loved working as a tag team and telling stories as a tag team and having that chemistry as a tag and building momentum up, and you got the hot tag, and it's just a lot of things that you do with that, especially in TNA. It was a very short reign Hamada and I had with the title belts, but or no, I don't even think we did. Yeah, we did.
Yeah. Yep.
Hello.
Yep.
Wake up, Kia. But we had a really good match with Black Angel and Taylor Wilde. And it was awesome. It was just that chemistry for the tag match, and you got the lucha style, and then you had the Canadian style, and you had the Japanese style going on in there, and that was a lot of fun.
I think you've won so many wrestling titles that you forgot that which ones you've won.
For a half a second there, I seriously had to think, wait, did I hold this? Yeah, okay. I did. Okay, yeah, I did.
So when you wrestled in Japan and when you wrestled in America, do you feel that when you were there, that the companies in the U.S. put more on your appearance more focus on your appearance than wrestling, I guess, than Japan would?
No. I think they put more on other girls' appearance.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And
yes.
mine. My job was to be intimidating and, massive. So that's what I did. Be intimidating and massive. But for other girls, it was more about, their looks. I could fluctuate a little bit, but if someone like Angelina Love gained 40 pounds, that'd be a problem.
Yes. Yes.
All right, now after coming back to America, you became not only a mainstay in TNA, but you really helped to start their women's division. What was the best thing to come out of you working in TNA?
I would have to say what people say to me all the time when I meet them and do appearances and signings and things, and that was the feud with Gail Kim.
Absolutely.
And the respect that the fans now have for the knockout division.
Now, it's been stated in several interviews that you felt that the Japanese style of pro wrestling is a lot tougher than what we call the American style. Why is it? I mean, I've not obviously been there to watch it. So what makes Japanese wrestling tougher than the United States version?
Well, there is a strong style in Japan, very hard-hitting, and they have the motto of the fighting spirit and, go, go, go.
Mm-hmm.
In America, you have a very mixed rainbow of attitudes towards wrestling. Some of these girls are in wrestling just for the glamour of it, and some of us mean business for the actual wrestling of it, just like any other worker, like the males do. So when you have someone that really can't endure that style, then you must adjust. And, some of these girls don't have the heart, but some of them also prefer to work smarter and not as dangerous, because it is dangerous and it does take a toll on your body. So, there are different attitudes that people have about that style. People that work in the American style, they have a better chance of prolonging their career.
Mm-hmm.
The girls in Japan, they were forced to retire at 25 for a while there, for decades and decades. At 25, you had to retire. So you could do 10 years and tear up your body for that 10 years because you were going to retire with a nice, nest egg. That's not the case nowadays.
Yeah. Following up on that, you've been injured over the years. What would you consider your worst pro wrestling injury, and did it ever make you think twice about being a pro wrestler?
Two. The two bulging discs that I have now, and when I first, my second match in Japan, which was a main event match versus Momo Nakanishi at Korakuen Hall. She jumped from the top rope onto the floor, onto me in a nice little plancha, and I caught her, and my ankle snapped.
Oh.
And it just, swole up. It's just so big, and for months. And this is, I'm new to the business. I just know how to run the ropes, throw a lariat, and take a bump at this point. And I had to learn on a severely sprained ankle. Until this day, it's really hard for me to do a left three-quarter roll because I had to do everything on the right because my ankle was so jacked up.
Wow. After a very successful career in TNA, you finally made it to WWE. After some amazing vignettes, I still look them up every now and then just to watch them. You debuted to some amazing fanfare. Were you happy with the way that you were brought in?
Oh, of course. I don't think they could have brought me in any better. I think that it was extremely exciting.
If you were given, in WWE, actually, you were given an opportunity to talk also, which was somewhat uncharacteristic of your character before. Were you? Yes. I know I was excited to hear from you, and you didn't disappoint. So were you excited to get that opportunity?
I was extremely nervous because I think I talked one time in TNA, and it was like monster kill princess, or something. It was like
yes.
2 sentences, and so it was easy. That was easy. They had a whole monologue for me at WWE, which I was not used to, and they came to me, 2 hours beforehand, handed me a script and said, "This is what you're going to do today." And I was like, oh, okay. Because remember, didn't do that in TNA, didn't do that in Japan, didn't have. I was fortunate enough to just get a booking contract right away, so I never got to hone my promo cutting skills like most people do in developmental. So I got thrown out there, it's like sink or swim. But I've been used to that because that was what happened when I first got to Japan. My first match was a main event match, and it was like sink or swim. So I got to paddling, doggy paddle.
All right. Speaking of WWE, you are one of only 3 women to have ever entered the Royal Rumble. Do you look at that as one of the highlights of your career so far?
Yes. If someone has like a snarky comment to make about me in virtually anything, it doesn't even have to be wrestling related. I'll just go, you know what? How many Royal Rumbles do you have? Okay. I rest my case. I just won the argument.
Now there's currently a huge resurgence in women's wrestling. Who are some of your favorites in the world today?
Well, Jessica Havoc is making a big splash over there at TNA, and I am rooting for her. Paige, knowing her before she got to WWE and her family, and knowing her skills, I am really excited about her emergence in WWE, and she really makes me want to jump through the screen and participate.
All right. Now, you hinted on Twitter earlier this year that you may be writing a book. Have you gotten any closer to publishing maybe an autobiography you could tell your fans about?
I have penned a lot of things because there's so much to tell, and it's hard to pick and choose what to put out first. What to put out as far as what I consider the most important thing about me first, because I have led so far a very interesting, dynamic life, and I have a lot of stories to tell. So originally I wanted to do like a dozen stories because this month actually would be 12 years of wrestling for me.
Wow.
And but I decided that this Kickstarter, this idea that would not leave me alone, was going to come first.
Okay, now this would be a very rare opportunity, but let's just say that you got to pick every aspect of how you're going to retire. Who would you want to face for your last match, and what promotion would you like to end your career with?
Last tango, I would face Nanae Takahashi.
Okay.
I would love to invite her into the WWE ring.
Would that would have to be at WrestleMania, right?
That'd be have to be at WrestleMania. It's a tie. It's a toss-up between her and Sarah Del Rey.
Oh, well, speaking of Sarah Del Rey, currently at the WWE Performance Center, she is training the next generation of divas. Do you think you could transition from the ring to more of a trainer role one day?
I think I could. I think I have a lot to offer. as far as character and, charisma-wise. People say you can't teach charisma, but if you have enough heart, you could teach someone almost anything. I think Sarah is the absolute best technical wrestler out there. There's no one out there better than her. So they've got that covered. I think I have a lot to contribute as far as, going in there and telling a story with your face and with your body.
Lightning round.
What is your favorite game show?
Wheel of Fortune, because I was on it.
Okay, Japan is notorious for having wrestlers on some strange merchandise. What's the craziest thing your face has ever been on?
A spoon.
That's awesome.
What is your favorite thing about Japan?
The people.
TNA.
Backstage Harmony.
All right. Favorite woman to work with?
Hikaru.
Least favorite.
An actress.
Okay.
An actress and an athlete, and we used to have them in Japan. Anybody that considers themselves an actress, I didn't care to work with.
Okay.
All right. Now, favorite match you were a part of?
It was a toss-up between the Royal Rumble and the match I had in TNA with, it was a live event overseas, intergender, me and Team 3D versus Scott Steiner, Booker T, and Sharmell. And I got to body slam Sharmell. I got to make out with Devon in the middle of the ring. And then afterwards, Mick Foley came out and serenaded a song to me.
That is amazing. Shimmer.
Revolutionary.
A karma comeback?
Hopefully.
And lastly, your favorite moment in the ring so far?
That's unfair. There's too many. I have to say, giving Dolph Ziggler my signature move, that was awesome because he is freaking awesome.
All right, Jonathan. Wow, what a Halloween special. First Ron Zombie, then Kia Stevens. What an awesome kind of show, Jonathan. What an amazing time with these guests. I'm excited for Halloween. It's still Halloween, technically. What a day, Jonathan. What a day.
Yeah, I want you to go out while you're trick-or-treating. I want you to put on your favorite wrestling-themed costume. I want you to listen to another wrestling podcast and go out and trick-or-treat like your favorite. Maybe you dress up like me. Maybe you dress up like Credo. If you do, send us your pictures, and maybe we'll have some sort of contest. So anybody who sends a picture looking like me or Credo, I will myself send you something from my personal wrestling collection.
Well, if they're listening to this right now, Jonathan, it might be too late. But if you guys head on over to ProWrestlingTees.com/Another Wrestling Podcast, you can get the full Credo, the full Jonathan effect with your very own Another Wrestling Podcast t-shirt. You want to really bring out that full effect in your costume. Maybe you missed it this year. Maybe you could do it next year. And who's to say you can't even have Halloween next week or the following week, even have a Halloween Christmas? Who cares? If you buy the shirt, it's still Halloween, I guess, for us, if you're dressing up. But I don't know, Jonathan. What a Halloween. We had some tricks. We got some treats. I enjoyed it. Did you enjoy it?
I did, and I just want to thank everybody for listening once again. Keep listening. Keep telling us what we're doing good. Don't tell us what we're doing wrong, because as of right now, we're not doing anything wrong.
I don't see it, Jonathan. I don't see anything wrong right now. We're talking some great wrestlers of near, far, old and young, present and past, yesterday and today. We're talking to them all. We're chatting with them. What else could be wrong? There's nothing wrong. This is the great stuff, guys. So thanks for subscribing. And if you're subscribed, give us a rating. Tell us what you like. Give us a positive comment. Because the more you do that, the more we don't have to keep telling you to do it.
And as always, if you would like to sponsor our show or be a sponsor on our show, you can email us at anotherwrestlingpodcast@gmail.com. This week's sponsor is Fan for Life Wrestling. They have a lot of great signings coming up. They are going to be at the Rhode Island Comic-Con this Saturday, hosting Zach Gowen and Gregory Iron, both Saturday and Sunday, November 1st and 2nd. November 8th, AWP and Fan for Life Wrestling will both be at the big event. Come out and say hi to us and them. They will also be hosting Zach Gowen and Gregory Iron again. So look them up on Facebook. Go out whenever they're at a show, say hi to them, meet a wrestler, and support these great people over at fanforlifewrestling.com. Now, I spoke with Zach Gowen the other day, and he had something to say to all the fans that come to see him in the coming weeks.
Man, I cannot wait. I'm so excited. I can't even speak right now. Obviously, you can hear that, but it's so amazing for me to not only see old friends and meet these new guys that are at these conventions, because I haven't done a lot of them, right? And so to be at these conventions, it feels like an incredible, like, awesome atmosphere, and it's like a big party, and to meet and greet. And take pictures with the fans, and Greg's going to be there too. That's like the best part, because here's the thing: it's not that I have like zero. I have like bad self-esteem. I just have zero self-esteem. I don't think very much of myself, and so when anybody says, "Hey, can I have your autograph?" or "Can I take a picture with you?" or this moment that you created meant this to me, or the person I was with watching that was, they cried or whatever it was, to me, that's like the absolute pinnacle of my life, being able to connect with people. And so to have that and to meet the fans is just totally incredible for me, because I really can't believe it, that I've been able to live out my dream for the past 12 years and to take my career from the highest of highs to the lowest of lows, and to get back, somewhere in the middle and be okay with myself, and what I'm doing, wrestling wise, it's pretty incredible. So to have that validation from the fans, who are the absolute backbone and the foundation of the wrestling industry, it feels pretty neat, man. So I'm looking forward to it.
So there you have it, our first Halloween show in the books. We hope you guys enjoyed listening as much as we enjoyed creating this for you. Go out and just support professional wrestling in any and all aspects. Visit us on anotherwrestlingpodcast.com. And as always, thanks for listening to
Another Wrestling Podcast.